All righty, there I am. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Midlife Mojo Mondays. I am Jill Lebofsky, the Midlife Mojo Master Coach, and here I am on time at the 2 p.m. ish hour. So I always say that every single Tuesday, or excuse me, every single Monday, I am here at 2 p.m. giving the tech gods, depending upon whether I'm on time or not. Today was good, so we're going to cross our fingers. But every single Monday, I love just to come on here, just to kind of start your Monday with some kind of inspiration or motivation. I like to bring some kind of education to you, or do a demonstration, or like today, bring on a special guest. And I'm really excited to have my special guest today, Helene Stelian. And she's going to talk to us about 2 myths and 3 musts for the woman in midlife. Now, every week in my group, you know that I have like a kind of, I always call it a loose theme of the week. And so this week is fall foraging. So we're going to talk a little bit, fall is literally like, I can't believe it. What are we, a week away now? The first day of fall. And so this is the time of year where the foods are different in the supermarkets and so forth. And so we're going to talk a little bit about seasonal eating, fall foods, some recipes, some good things like that. But I'm excited to have Helene. I'm going to get your name right. You're going to correct me a few times. I'm going to have Helene on here. She is a midlife empowerment coach, and I met her probably a little over a year or so ago, but we've never met in person. So I, like you, am excited to get to know her a little bit more and how she shows up and how she serves the midlife woman. So let me just tell you a little bit about Helene, and then we will bring her on. So she is, as I said, a midlife empowerment coach. Helene helps women who are struggling in their 40s and beyond, who wonder if their best years are behind them and what's next for them. She shows them how to put themselves first, reclaim their identity, and figure out what's next so they can create a no regrets future. I love that because she believes it's our time and it's our turn, right? Kindred spirits, her and I. Helene coaches women through her signature 6 week Discover Your Purpose group program, and in her membership, Take Action on Your Passion. She also speaks on many topics, including purpose, the empty nest, perfectionism, procrastination, legacy, and goal setting. Helene is passionate about connecting women to each other as well as to educational and inspirational content. She has built an active community through her Facebook group, Empowering Women in Midlife, where women support and encourage each other and share a laugh or two. She also showcases women through her written and video interviews. And Helene splits her time between Chicago, Illinois and Sarasota, Florida, and has been married to her husband, Peter, for 26 years with twin girls in her 20s. And I love this little extra piece about Helene because, we all know the business stuff, but I like to know the personal stuff. So she loves to travel, dancing, crime shows. I don't even know what this next word means. I'm going to have to ask her. Ranunculus and eating chocolate every day. Oh, definitely a woman after my own heart. So let me bring Helene on here. There we go. All righty. Hello, hello.
Hi. Hi.
Welcome.
So good to be here. Yay. Ranunculus.
Ranunculus. Just
Ranunculus
before we even
are,
start, what the heck?
I know, I need to tell you, they are my newest flower discovery. I'm a big orchid fan and I love geometric flowers like allium,
Mhm.
but ranunculus are these very tight, like balls of flowers that have very tight petals. They are beautiful. So I got one in a bouquet and I was like, what is this flower? I must know. So now you know, ranunculus.
Wow. Well, I'm adding it. So I just this past year, kind of since COVID started, I got really into gardening. Never had been, I now must have, I don't even know, 75 plants and flowers, but I don't really know what they're called or really how to
Right.
keep them up as well. So that's kind of Jill's this year, what I'm learning about. But my birds and my flowers. So ranunculus. I'm going to add that to my list to learn about.
Yes,
Maybe I'll
yes,
have
check
to
them
get
out.
myself one. Well, awesome. So like I said, I am excited to kind of dive in today and learn a little bit more. For those of you watching, I'm just going to talk a little bit and then I'm going to turn my whole show over to Helene today just to do a little bit of teaching so we can all learn for her. But before we start, I just want to learn, a little bit more about you because I know for myself as a midlife coach, right? It wasn't like from point A to point B.
Mm-mm.
Like nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, I'm going to be a midlife coach," right?
Right.
There's usually a journey that takes us there.
Yeah.
So I know my twists and turns. I'd love to hear kind of how this kind of became your passion and something that you really wanted to do to change the world.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. I mean, as many coaches know, a lot of us become a coach based on something we have experienced, right? So I'm a midlife empowerment coach because I struggled in midlife. And so that struggle has really informed my passion. Spent a decade in corporate America. I got an MBA in the process. And then I was fortunate to be able to stay home with our twin daughters. And during this time, worked on a lot of nonprofit boards and wrote a few parenting books. But as so happens, when you put so much of yourself into parenting and into that role, what happens when your kids are leaving home? And with twins, they both left home for college at the same time. And I was nearing 50 when they were in high school. And it was clear that I was going to need to figure out what to do with the rest of my life. I did not want to go back to corporate America. That was not a good fit for me at all. But I felt a real loss of identity as my girls were becoming more independent. And I also felt a loss of connection because we had moved from the suburbs of Chicago back to the city of Chicago. So I felt kind of lost and sad and scared about my future. And as it turns out, I wasn't alone. I mean, what happens to me when I feel this way is I reach out. And so I reached out to other women and found a number of them who were also struggling with this. And at the same time, I found others who maybe had struggled and had successfully gone through this transition. And that's when I started blogging by interviewing women who had successfully navigated the midlife transition. That was the genesis of that. And after about a year and a couple hundred interviews, I decided, you know what, I want to take a more proactive role in helping these women. And that's where I came up with the idea of becoming a coach. I went through the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, a year-long program. And that was the genesis of me really starting to take a more active role with women and really with empowering women. Everything has kind of snowballed from there. I continue to interview women. I started doing Facebook Lives in my group and just really doing seminars and all kinds of presentations. And, then started my program and my membership most recently. So it's just it continues to be a journey, and it continues, I've had stops and starts and things that have worked and not worked. Just figuring out, what do women need? What kind of support do they want? And how can I be of service?
Well, check me off. I'm like your ideal client right now. So there was something that you said that I just keep saying the word over and over in my head because I didn't want to forget to bring it back up. And that was, you said you reached out for help. Like,
Yeah,
that is what so many women don't do. So you're unique in that way. I think so many of us are used to just shouldering it all or
right,
plowing through and finding ourselves in this imperfect moment, right? Of feeling a little lost, right? Like, who are we, right? Your kids are
right.
going off. And so to take that step to reach out for help, and then to kind of, like you said, seek out those people who've either been there before or who are just needing the
Yeah,
camaraderie, is huge. And so,
yeah. There's
yeah.
no need. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Other women have been through it, and I find that women together. And now I only work with women in groups now.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Either free or in my programs. I love the power of women in community, and I have learned that is the best first step is to seek out other women, because you will find they have so much to teach us through their wisdom, and just even knowing you're not alone.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And that's why I think groups like yours and mine are, because I think it's finding your people who speak your language that you connect with, because, that's how we all grow,
Yeah,
basically, right? And we don't
yeah.
grow, and we don't feel alone. So I love it. So excellent. Well, I just want to hear more and talk more, but I'm going to
Yay.
turn it over to you and then hear what you have to say. And you and I will chit chat at the end a little bit. And I see we do have a couple of people watching live. Dora, I see you there. Hello. On my thing, it says Facebook
Hello.
user. I don't know who loves my haircut. I'm not going to go on about how much I hate it right now, but thank you very much. I'll have to see who that is because your name isn't being picked up. If you want me to know who your name is, you do have to click the link in the so that my streaming service can accept your name so I know who you are. But otherwise, afterwards we'll go back. But if you have any questions for Ellen as we go along, please put them in the chat, and I'm sure we'll get to them at the end, or just ooh, yeah, awesome, right? And aha moments as they go along. I'm sure she'd appreciate that as well. All right, so
Yes,
I'm
I
going to
will.
go off and the show. Hello, Carmen. Oh, we got 3 people. Excellent. All right. So we'll see you later.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much, Jill. Yeah. So, when Jill asked me to speak today, I was thinking about, okay, what kind of nuggets can I give you? And that's where I came up with the ideas of kind of unpacking some myths and also sharing some musts for all of us who are women in midlife. So let's go through them. The first myth is that midlife is actually not a crisis. So when you Google midlife, it autofills with the next word, which is crisis, which is just so amusing to me. And the midlife crisis is actually mostly a stereotype about men, like dating younger women, driving sports cars and motorcycles, like altering their appearance with, hair implants or flashier wardrobe, engaging maybe in some thrill-seeking behaviors. It's really about grasping for youth as they face aging and mortality. And the concept was actually coined in 1965 by a Canadian psychologist named Elliot Jacques. And it was popularized in, you may have heard of this, Sheehy's book, Passages. But the actual research has found that there is very little evidence for a midlife crisis in that stereotypical sense that I just described. Yes, there's stress, there's change for both men and women. And if you think about midlife starting around 40 or 50, you'll find it can be a really challenging time for most of us, with like kids leaving home, as I experienced, aging parents who may need support, marital strain oftentimes. There is such a thing as the gray divorce for a reason, work discontent, loss of community, like friends moving away, or maybe you are downsizing and moving somewhere else, physical changes, health issues due to aging and menopause, and on and on. But studies show that actually fewer than 10% of Americans will experience a full-blown psychological crisis in midlife. So it's not a common thing. For most of us, I like to think of it as a time of renewal rather than crisis, because along with the challenges I just mentioned, there's some wonderful opportunity. With 4 or 5 decades of experience, we have skills, we have knowledge, we have strength, we have wisdom to guide us. We're much more aware of those strengths. We have social connections and resources to call on for support, and we're usually more financially stable. We've also built up our resilience by rising above failures and overcoming struggles. We're better able to handle crises, solve problems. We're less reactive, more thoughtful in our responses. We're more confident, adaptable. We're more compassionate, empathetic. So knowing that life goes on despite losses and setbacks, we know that whatever midlife throws at us, we're going to be able to get through these stressors. So just to wrap it up, midlife, for myth 1, midlife is not a crisis. Let's move on to myth 2. Midlife is also not the beginning of the end. So our Western culture has popularized the idea of midlife as sort of the beginning of the long goodbye, right? Slow decline to inevitable death. We're just around the corner from old age. Time to throw in the towel and, retire into our golden years. But not so fast, because here are the facts. People are now living longer, healthier, and more energetic lives than ever before. Let's give you some stats. In 1960, women in the US on average lived until age 73. In 2015, that life expectancy was 82, an increase of 9 years. So at age 50, we can expect to live maybe 30 more years. Not only that, but 9 in 10 Americans ages 65 to 74 say they are living disability-free. That means most of us can count on just as many productive years, adult years ahead of us as we have behind us. And these bonus years, they're not extending that middle adult period, raising families, really pursuing our careers. Instead, several writers have actually suggested that we're seeing the dawn of a new stage in our adult years, spanning maybe ages 55 to 75. So if we think of the first phase of midlife as 40 to 55, this allows for the idea of a second middle age, where healthy and successful people can envision pursuing a whole new set of goals and opportunities. And they call it our encore, or our second adulthood. So midlife is not the beginning of the end. Matter of fact, you've got all this whole new stage of life, second adulthood, all these bonus years. What are you going to do with it? All right, those are the 2 myths. Now let's talk about musts. Number 1, make you the priority. Midlife is the perfect time to finally focus on ourselves instead of everybody else. In our adult lives, many of us have put ourselves second to the needs of men and children. Many women come to see midlife as a turning point for the better, an optimistic stage of life full of potential. Because in midlife, we have a real opportunity to focus in on our own needs and desires, to become more independent, less people pleasing, to let go of external definitions and pressures around our physical appearance, to accept ourselves in all our wisdom and despite our flaws, to invest in our self-care, our personal growth, to find our voice and the freedom to express it. And we have a lot to say. Women feel they finally have permission in midlife to live authentically and to be all that they are. And if we embrace that freedom, the new confidence and creativity allows us to take more risks. So it's no surprise in my experience, and you will see it in now I think I have 400 interviews in my blog, Next Act for Women, that women are making dramatic changes in midlife. They're going back to school. They're starting new businesses. They're advocating for causes. They're embarking on new adventures. They're exploring new passions. They're leaving stale marriages. And indeed, research shows that women who embrace these opportunities at midlife enjoy more fulfillment and well-being than ever before. So that's must number one, make you the priority. Must number two is something I talked a little bit about with Jill, seek connection. So connection is critical to happiness, but it's about quality more than quantity. Surround yourself with cheerleaders who leave you feeling good about yourself. Let go of toxic friends. Set clear boundaries with family members about what you will and will not tolerate. It's all about building a community of supportive friends and family who've got your back. As an introvert, I know it can feel like we're at a disadvantage in making new friends. I've moved many times in my life, several times in the last 10 years, so I feel I've got some practice at this. So how do you meet new people? First, be open to them. Say yes to invitations that intrigue you, even if you feel a little uncomfortable. Second, extend invitations yourself. Is there maybe a woman you've met that you'd like to get to know better? Why not invite her to a social distance coffee or walk or a Zoom? Third is find communities tailored to your needs and interests. Communities like Jill's, communities like mine. Google is also amazing for that. There are groups on anything and everything if you simply look for them. And so I was going to share a few examples of what I found when I did my own research. One is I joined the Transition Network a few years ago. It's a nonprofit focused on women 50 plus and really helping connect women. Eventually, I helped revitalize our Chicago chapter and became part of our leadership team. And TTN has chapters all over the U.S. They're especially strong on the East Coast, where they started. When the pandemic hit, another thing I learned about is designer Eileen Fisher's foundation, which supports free weekly Zoom discussions with women from all over the world. It's called Women Together Connect. You're thrown into breakout rooms with total strangers. It's a little scary, I'm not going to lie, but it's also exhilarating. You just never know who you might meet. And you're given topics of conversation. So it's not like, hey, just go at it. I also discovered the Podcast Brunch Club, which is like a book club, but for podcasts. And they now connect for virtual rather than in-person discussions. And they have chapters all over the world. I mean, I think 100 chapters or so, or maybe more. I don't know. I haven't looked at it lately. And they give you like a curated list of podcasts to listen to each month around a central theme. And then you get together to talk about them. So if you love podcasts, it's a great outlet. I spent part of the year in Sarasota, as Jill mentioned. And when we started going down there, which was just a couple of years ago, I really knew hardly anyone. And before the pandemic, I started going to meetups. So meetup.com, there's clubs, meetup groups in your area for sure. They are everywhere. And I started attending local meetups around French speaking because I was raised in Paris. So I love keeping up with my French. Discussing current events was another group I joined. There are meetups for everything. So it's really fun to do that, especially, of course, once things reopen. And of course, don't forget Facebook groups. There are groups based on any interest you may have. So I belong to 24 groups, including Jill's, of course, and also have my own group, Empowering Women in Midlife. It's really a supportive community of women, and we're all navigating these middle years together. And I hope you'll join us and become active, both in Jill's group and mine. So that's must number 2, which is really seek connection. So let's move on to the final must, which is discover your purpose. So midlife has been called a second adolescence. So I love this idea. In adolescence, the critical work we do is around defining our identity. And in midlife, the work is actually very similar. We ask very big existential questions about ourselves and the meaning of our lives, like, who am I today? Beyond the roles I've played as a wife, as a mother, as a provider, as a volunteer, as a caretaker, what are my strengths and passions? Where can I contribute? Where do I belong? Like, who are my people? Who can I trust to have my back? Who do I want to surround myself with? What kind of life do I want to create in the second half? There's a desire to stop living day by default. Instead, we want to take charge. We feel a new urgency to be intentional in the choices we make and the life we create. And finally, we begin to think about legacy. Like, how do I want to be remembered? What do I want to leave behind? And this is the critical reflection that we need to do in midlife to create a vibrant, joyful, and fulfill a second half. And those are many of the questions we unpack in my upcoming free masterclass, which we'll talk about, called the Proven Purpose Formula. So there you have it. I've got 2 myths and 3 musts. The 2 myths are midlife is not a crisis. It's really a time of opportunity. Second myth is midlife is not the beginning of the end. What are you going to do with your bonus years? And the musts are time to prioritize you, create your community, and discover your unique purpose in the second half. That's what I got for
Oh.
you.
Well, that was awesome. Oh my gosh. I'm going to say, I have so many notes written on the sides
Oh,
all over my pages here. I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? But you had so many like just golden like nuggets to say. And so obviously for, people listening, you and I share a similar message.
yep,
And what I love about a lot of people sharing the same message is that you hear it in different ways from different people, right?
exactly.
And maybe where you're at, when you heard it from me a couple of weeks ago, maybe you couldn't hear it then. But now
Yeah.
today, for whatever happened in your life between now and then, you're saying. So I think it's just love that you're just spreading this message of right that like you said, midlife is not the end. It's
No,
truly the beginning.
it is.
So I'm going to break down a couple of things I love that you said, if you don't mind, and we'll kind of just
Great.
kind of go over them.
Yay.
So I love how you talked about midlife as, because I agree, right, as this time of renewal rather than crisis,
Yes.
right? And you talked about it as like you were talking about how this age range, right? So this like 55 to 75 is this like second coming or second, right?
Yes.
Second.
Second, it's just, yeah, it's like that's bonus years. It's a second midlife. It's a second adolescent, however you want to
Love
describe
it.
it.
Oh, I have the word here. Encore, second adulthood. That was the
Yes. Yes.
encore. I loved that. And I think it's so true because now that I've been working with women of this age, when I first started, I was the right side of 45. So it was women 45 and up. And then I would say, well, it's like 45 to 60. I was like, well, that's not like, now it's like 45 to 65. Nope, that's not right. It's like, and I have women in my groups who are in their 70s, their
Yep.
mid 70s, even beyond 75, some of them who are starting up businesses, who are out there
Yes.
doing all these amazing things. So I love this concept, but I had never heard that before. And so
Yeah.
I almost see that 45 to 55 almost as like those menopausal
Right.
years that
Right.
are turmoil. And I agree with you that I love that. It's reframe things for me.
Yeah.
And then the 55 to 75 as truly this time to find ourselves and grow into ourselves and so forth.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny because when people ask me, okay, well, so midlife starts around, 40, 50, like when does it end? And I was like, I haven't found the end yet. Like for me, I'm going to call myself midlife, until, I don't know, when am I going to feel like I'm like in end of my life? Who knows, but I don't put a cap on it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, because people, well, at some point you're going to, you're going to get older than like, I'm 57. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I don't
it's
know when
pretty
it's going
far
to be.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And we all know those are just numbers that people assign
exactly.
to things. And it's not, I feel like midlife is a feeling, is an
I love
expression of
that.
who we are. It's
Yeah.
not really that number that defines
Yeah.
anything. And I've learned that so much by over the years, just working with women who are older, and you see that I always say there's two kinds of old people. And so sure, for some of you, maybe midlife will end, but for the rest of
Right.
us,
Yeah.
who can, I think now take a hold of some of our health, our wellness,
Yes.
figuring out our purpose, all these wonderful things.
Yeah.
And you were talking a lot about also on the stage, my husband and I were talking about the new phases. And I literally used that word with him last night because I'm about to become an empty nester. So I'm just a few years younger than you. I'm 51 and my youngest is going off and trying to keep her here at Florida with me at the University of Florida. And then yesterday, like she was kind of laying out her reasons for wanting to go out of state a little bit. And I thought we
Oh.
had put that to rest. And, and then she left. And then a couple hours later, my husband came out. I was like, oh, how you doing? I'm like, I'm kind of sad. He's like, why are you sad? And I said, well, I feel like I said, she was telling me how she felt. And I'm struggling with what she probably wants and what I kind of want and need
Right.
and where is that kind of thing. So we are in this weird stage, right, of figuring out who we are. And so I love that, you're just kind of taking us from this 40s and 50s all the
Yeah.
way through. Okay, so then some of your musts that I love too was you talk about the connection, right? And I was away with a friend of mine this past weekend, my oldest friend, and she recently got divorced this past year, and her only child just picked up after high school, and he moved out to California. She lives in
Wow.
Virginia,
A lot of
and
change.
she just wrote me, please come. So I hopped
Right.
on a plane and I went, right? But we were talking a lot about, how is she going to create this new life for herself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
She's worked so much, her life evolved. And so I loved what you had so many practical solutions. And so that's what I'm all about, right? As well. Like, I mean,
Right.
why teach somebody if you're not going to, tell somebody
Right.
what to do and how to
Right.
do it, right? Theory is not,
Yeah.
theory doesn't
Right.
get us anywhere, right?
Just telling somebody, be vibrant or become more independent or be authentic. It's like those are all buzzwords, but how do you do that? That's
What are the steps?
to give me some direction, give me a way to get started, because otherwise it just sounds overwhelming and I might as well just not do anything then.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so this idea of, okay, so how do we connect? You move to a new area or you become an empty nester in your own area, right?
Right.
So like that's kind of where I'm at. I said to my husband, I'm like, well, I look around, most of my friends have been work or acquaintance people, because I've been so busy. I'm like,
Right.
I'm in the stage. Okay. And it's not just about, I loved all your ideas. We're going to go through some of them, but it's not just about waiting for someone to ask you for the
Right.
invitation because, right,
Right.
it's extending yourself. It's
Yeah.
putting yourself out there. It's maybe there's somebody in this Facebook group or your
Right.
Facebook group who you
Yeah.
just connect with and they live in your area, but you've never met. Well, why don't we meet in
Right.
person
It's
or
taking a
something?
little risk. I mean, it does put you out of your comfort zone,
Yeah,
but that's when you're going to get the biggest reward, is by taking
absolutely.
some risks, and they might all work out, and that's okay. And you're not meant to be best friends with everybody, but it's just the more connections you make, I mean, it's amazing the community I've formed here in the city of Chicago when I moved from the suburbs, and now I'm forming that kind of community in my neighborhood in Sarasota. But it takes effort. You got to get out there, even for the introverts like me.
It is true. And the good thing is for introverts, we have Facebook, right? We can kind of form groups. So I'm looking at Dora. She's posting all these comments, right? So I know her literally from Facebook. I've never met her,
Great.
but we support each other in different ways and, and so often. And I can't wait, Dora, to meet you one day in person. You don't live that far. But it's just, I think that it's so important to, we can't use the pandemic or introvert as an
Right.
excuse,
No.
right? There are ways that all of us can connect with people and so forth. And I know my friend Carmen's on here. Carmen was one of my work, buddies, and she just picked up and she moved back to New York with her to be near her kids. But I know she too is in that stage of trying to figure out, okay, well now I'm here in a new area. Got us, can't all be about family, right? We've all got to connect.
There's a big transition network chapter in New York City, and there's another one on Long Island. So I mean, that's actually a great outlet to meet women 50 plus. Just Carmen.
Yes, well there you go. See, and she's in New Jersey. I said New York, but I'm sure
New
that's
Jersey. Okay. Yes.
yeah,
Close
right
by.
there. Yeah, absolutely. And so I love that. I've never heard of that transition network. I'm going to check them out
Yeah.
and see that they have different chapters and so forth. So, lady, she gave us the transition network to TTN. She gave us Women Together Connect. You gave us something called the Podcast Brunch Club Meetup, which is my favorite. I'm so
Love it.
glad things are
Yeah.
opening up now. That's more for local if you want to
Right.
connect in person type things. So I hope that you guys take on, go look at some of these things to start exploring or Google in your own area, right? How to
Yeah.
meet people, how
Yeah.
to make friends,
I mean,
right?
women's organizations, they're great. Like again, I'm huge on the power of women together. And so it's just, you'd be surprised. There's all these women's groups in your area. You just have to seek them out. You
Yeah.
just do a Google search And
Yeah.
Facebook groups. Facebook groups are awesome.
Yeah. And like you said, maybe not everybody's for you. And I
Yeah,
think, but I always say all the best things happen on the other side of our comfort zone. So,
exactly. I
we
love
don't get,
that.
yeah, you don't really know what you're missing, right? Until
Yeah,
and so it's what I would say at our age, what's the worst we have to lose, right? An hour
right.
of
No,
time, 2 hours
right.
of time,
Yeah,
you really nothing to lose at this
yeah,
point.
I
And then the
agree.
last final thing I want to say before we kind of talk about your program a little bit, because I am excited to learn about that and I want to make sure we share is you talked about something like about leaving legacy, right?
Yeah,
And so I think that a lot of people in this group here, like I know Dora is an author, and Carmen is sharing, her love of jewelry with people and her just love of natural living with people. There are a lot of people in these groups that are out there kind of forming their legacy, and it can
yeah.
look different. And so I love that that's one of the things that with your program, I'm sure you're going to talk about, but finding your purpose, because I think within that purpose comes that legacy to some degree. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I would agree. I think it's interesting. Legacy is such an important word. And I think as we get older, and for many of us also, as we see our parents die and we sort of become the elder generation, the last, the wise ones
Yeah.
of our families, we start to feel a desire to leave something behind, to, really help the next generations understand the history of our family, and to really, we start thinking about how are we going to be remembered. How are my children, my grandchildren eventually going to remember me and what I contributed, whether it's that I hosted great Sunday evening dinners or that I started a nonprofit. I mean, it can really range the whole gamut. So it doesn't have to be anything huge. Legacy doesn't have to mean you got to go do something enormous. It's just really a feeling that you're leaving behind.
Yeah, I love that. And that's kind of one of the things I was also saying with my husband. I'm like, did we do enough? Did we create enough traditions? Did we, cause I feel like this is a true ending, when she leaves of this phase. And I'm
Yeah,
always mommy. I see you're never not mommy, right?
right.
But truly entering. And so, yeah, I love that. And I'm looking for different ways to kind of continue my legacy. I don't know if my kids always are so embarrassed by my menopause book. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that can be my only legacy. It's my sex book and my
Right,
menopause book.
right.
I
Yeah.
got to come up with something. Maybe they can all talk about the great grandchildren
Oh
one
my
day, right?
God.
No,
Yeah.
we
No.
joke. I joke, but
It
awesome.
was normal for us to embarrass our kids. That's just kind of the way it is. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So I'm just kind of looking through some of the comments right here. Dora was just talking about, yes, connect with new people, even with a phone call with a new friend out of
Yeah.
state. Yeah, that's true. You
Yeah.
meet somebody, you could just get
Can
on
be
a call with
easy.
them or a
Yeah.
Zoom. Absolutely. My friend, she was telling me, I mean, in the early stage, she was starting to date a little bit and they were Zoom dates. I'm like, Zoom dates? I'm like,
Yeah. Who
wow, but
knew? Wow.
it's a whole new world, right? But definitely. So yes, I'm trying, everybody's talking about fast. We'll read through some of them, but my therapist says success becomes completion. That like that.
Oh,
Right. Legacy, a
interesting.
great way to remember, right? And pleasure trumps profit. Excellent. All right. All
Yeah.
these good things. Fantastic. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn back over to you. I want you to just tell us a little bit about your program, and I'm going to put up some stuff on the screen for you ladies if you want to follow the links along a little bit. All right.
Okay, great. Yeah. So what I'd love to talk about is I have a program called Discover Your Purpose, and it's a wonderful program. But what I invite you to do is to actually attend a free masterclass that I'm offering, which really gives you kind of the nuts and bolts of what I go over in my program. It's a training that's aimed at women in midlife and beyond who are looking to clarify their life's purpose in the second half. And so this training is called the Proven Purpose Formula. So in this masterclass, I unpack what purpose is, including 5 critical aspects of purpose. And I explain why knowing your purpose is critical to your health and happiness. Then I share, actually for the first time, my Proven Purpose Formula. It's a step-by-step process that I created and refined with dozens of clients, both one-on-one and in groups, to help you write your own unique purpose statement. So in this live training, this masterclass, I give you all the tools you need to do this for yourself. I'm offering this free masterclass live only on Saturday, September 18th. So that's this Saturday from 2 to 3:30 p.m. U.S. Central Time. So I hope you will join us live. And I've got some great bonuses for you, for those of you who do join us. I've got a free gift for you to join us live. And then I've got a great bonus for those of you who sign up for the program that I'll be describing at the end of my talk during the training. So I'm super excited about it. The program itself is called Discover Your Purpose, and it starts September 25th. So come check it out. Check out the masterclass, learn all about purpose, learn all my tips and tools to write your own purpose statement. And if you want to dig deeper and do the work within a group, then you can choose to join the program called Discover Your Purpose.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I love the name of it too. Just right to the point, right? I mean, discover your purpose.
Yeah, I've never been, I'm not, it's not like I'm an awesome copywriter, but
you're not mincing words. Yeah.
No, I just say it like it is.
Yeah, but that's exactly it, right? And I think so many of us are looking to just literally discover our purpose, at this stage, right? With either kids leaving or picking up and moving, or sometimes it's divorce, sometimes it's a spouse passing away, sometimes it's, an illness or an injury that prevents us from doing the career we've always done, and it's finding
twists and turns in midlife.
There are lots,
and
absolutely.
Surprises. Yeah.
Yep. And I always say we can't just go sit in the rocking chair and pick up the knitting needles. It's where we got too much to share at this point in our lives.
I agree.
So that is wonderful. Well, that's, I'm going to keep up the link there at the bottom, ladies. We'll definitely put it in the comments later, and Helene will be in the group all during the week, sharing about her program a little bit more. And on here, she'll go back to the comments. But before we wrap up and then just hang on there, ladies, at the end, I just have a couple little things to say, but just any final, midlife words of wisdom.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll tell you. As I mentioned, I've done hundreds of interviews with women who have actually successfully navigated the midlife transition. And the one lesson I hear the most is this one: it's better to have tried and failed than never to have tried at all. In other words, these women would rather live with failure than with regret. So that's my parting word to you is that this is your time, go for your dreams, and it's never too late to create the life you deserve. That's my motto for you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here with our Midlife Mojo Mondays, and would love to have you on again. If you have another program down the road that you're sharing on something different, you've been a wonderful, informative guest. You've given us lots of great practical tips. Thank you, ladies, who are on there, for joining us. Just hang on there 1 minute as we just say goodbye. And
thank you so much for having me. You've created such a wonderful group here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, ladies. Okay, so perfect. So thank you again for joining me for another Midlife Mojo Mondays. I'll be back next Monday at 2 p.m. But just really quickly, a couple little things I have going on. You know that or maybe you don't know, but I've been promoting my 6-week intermittent fasting program. Starts actually officially tonight, so not too late to join. We're doing a sugar detox for the first 7 days. And then next week we get into the intermittent fasting. So message me if you want to join, and I'll get you all the things to get you started with us tonight. And then also, I put a post out there the other day, starting also on the 18th, along with Helene's wonderful program, is the beginning of a week-long symposium, the Global Essential Oil Online Symposium. And I am a speaker for the second time in a row. I'm doing 2 videos, the 22nd and the 23rd. So look for those promotions and those, but you can join with my link for free. And then they kind of, I think there's 27 speakers and 43 videos, and you can even purchase all the videos if you want at the end. And if you use my link, they give you a code for a discount. But a lot of great speakers. I'm going to be talking on sexless in the suburbs. So we're going to talk a little bit about midlife sex, and then I got to talk about my intermittent fasting. That's my passion. So that is it. As I kind of get off here, hold on 1 second here, and I will send you ladies away. All right. So that is it. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will see you. Thank you for joining me live or here on the replay, and we will talk with you